Welcome everyone to the monthly OpenStack TC uh, meeting that happens on Zoom and IRC on the OpenStack TC channel. So I'll be a little slow typing out what's going on in this meeting, but please feel free to also type out whatever you're trying to say, or feel free to correct what I'm adding to the meeting notes that we're keeping on IRC. Let's get started with our usual topic. Last week's AIs. So we took a few last week, but most of those seem complete. Um, let's see. So we had one around the electoral roll generation patch to include TC repos. I think I tested this. I haven't posted the um, the results of my test on the patch itself. That's the patch. But we can follow up after this meeting. I suppose Slavek's already given me his +2. Ian is probably waiting on the test results. So everything works. The schema seems to have been preserved with that patch. But I'll share like a pastebin link. And the next AI was regarding reviews and check-in for the EOL transition patches. And these are, I think, oops, I need the links. This one, this one, and this one. So we are transitioning three branches, Wallaby, Xena, Yoga, and these have so far only gotten +1s. I think one of them had a change that Elod requested and it was made. And these are looking good. I think the deadline was that was proposed was the 21st of March, 2025. There are no concerns as far as the TC was concerned. Like, if there is, I mean, these patches are open for your review as well. Um, the reason we are tracking them is just to remedy a historic issue with these things. So we'll continue to track it for the next few weeks as this ends up getting merged. Okay. All right. The next AI we took was around the CI usage pattern analysis. Um, I was hoping Slavek would join us today. He's probably away, and he did post stuff on the OpenStack Discuss email list, and it did trigger at least a discussion with the tracker team. So I mean, we did have another topic at the PTG, but I just want to know if we were expecting anything more to be done through the ML post and the follow-ups there. I'm slow to dig out that email. It sounds like none, right? Any further thoughts on that email thread? Search optimization, he called it. All right, let's move on. The next AI we had was around the PTG agenda. I mean, this is basically, just a call out again to make sure that we are adding any topics to the PTG agenda. The Etherpad was linked last week. I'll just throw in the link again here. Most of us, we know the drill over here. So if you are proposing a topic, make sure to add your nick next to the topic that you are proposing, so that we could determine who is leading those topics and what accommodations we need to make in case of conflicts and so on. Um, so feel free to add any topics. I'm going to remind you this until the PTG date itself, or until we're finalizing the times. Nothing else at the moment. I think Kendall shared a list of teams that are meeting at the PTG today, and uh, we have quite a lot of cross-project discussions by the looks of it. Sounds exciting. And the next AI we had was finalize the election results, which we've been hearing a lot about. Uh, so I think things looked fine over there. As far as the follow-ups, we had the election repo, and we also had the mailing list updates. And it was surprising when I was writing my um, weekly summary is when I really noticed how many new PTLs we had, which was awesome. I really liked the development as far as the rollover. A lot of the PTLs that probably were transitioning out had already been PTLs for several cycles. Uh, I think Sylvain was, a lot of cycles. I don't know how many, but yeah, that's really nice to see a whole bunch of new PTLs show up. That doesn't happen every release.
Yeah, yeah, basically 7 cycles.
Nice.
Yeah, so basically that's why basically I had no time to be a PTL, and that's also basically why I asked some of folks to be able to be the next PTL for Nova. I'm pretty bad to no longer be the PTL, but basically, yeah, it's the time. It's the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Great. And sorry. Uh,
Yeah, I was just thinking that one concern it seems though is that a lot of details that stepped into the role, many of them were not even co-reviewers for the project, which is might be a bit concerning, thing, which indicates not their prolonged commitment to the project. So we should also probably highlight it as a potential risk and keep an eye on project.
yeah.
Future, I guess, with this new PTL and how they're performing, probably assist new PTLs wherever possible.
So, if I can ask as a follow-up to that, is that a symptom of it's hard to become a core reviewer on some of those projects? And and none of the core reviewers want to do the PTL, and therefore they've let somebody else that might be a reviewer stand up, like, and they've been involved for a while, or are they just literally somebody brand new that uh
So yeah, so I was working on something else. Okay, so basically about that question, basically when I discussed with René, that would be the next Nova PTL. For sure, if, for example, for the activists for Nova, if for example René says yes or no about something, then even if it's not yet a core, he can basically ping other folks and basically would be helping him to be like, for example, say +2 or something like that. At least for Nova, this shouldn't be a problem to not be a PTL, to not be a core, sorry, if you're a PTL, unless if he wants to modify the documentation, of course. But for example, say that the PTL is creating a new document, then some other guy could be just plus W it. Shouldn't be a problem. We will be probably discussed during the PTG. But voilà. And eventually maybe Ronnie could be a Nova Core. I'm not saying he's not a Nova Core now because this and that, but probably, I mean, that's a way for him to also be. That's probably a direction for him to be a next Nova Core if he has time. That's probably a way. Like for example, by Nova, we had previously bug cards, bug SARs. I mean, G-Man remember about that. So we had like important guys that were not Nova Core, but that was a way for them to be able to be helping for Nova, and it wasn't really a problem.
Yeah,
But
and
from
also
governance
like in
perspective, okay, sorry, Jim.
sorry, just was saying like in this is not first time, like in Glance also we had a example where the PTL was not core in the Glance repository. So that did well, and means I didn't see any issue like where PTL didn't have +2, but still they coordinate and get the things done. And as Selvin mentioned, like it's also a good step to knowing more things and be the core. So these, I feel like Lance and Noah, these two examples are really good. Like when core members don't want to, take that PTL responsibility to someone else who is active there, so they can come forward and share those responsibility.
I would
But
say,
can it be sorry, but can it be really the case from governance perspective? Because eventually PTL is the person who TC who is kind of delegated by TC like to own the project. So basically, he should be able to add new core reviewers. He should be able to drop existing core reviewers. He should be able
no,
to audit like reviews.
no, that's fine because, for example, even if I'm Nova Core, when I asked other guys to become Nova Core, I first started to discuss with the core team. This wasn't happening because I was myself a Nova Core. Anyone can propose someone as a Nova Core, but we'll definitely prefer to discuss that within our team before accepting that person. So for your example, I don't think this is a problem if René proposes someone as a core, even if he's not himself uh, a Nova Core, for multiple reasons. Again, he's not a Nova Core, not because he's not expert in this and that, but I will say that because for the moment we haven't yet he wasn't yet, for example, able to review a lot of things. Also, there are multiple reasons why people are not Nova cores. So I think for me it's not a problem. I would say the main concern would be if him being a Nova core and if him being a Nova PTL without being a core, if, for example, he has some opinions that are different from the other cores, well, then as a community, we need to find a consensus. But that's like any other guys, right? If, for example, during a PTG, for example, we don't have any quorum, no, not quorum, but rather we don't have any consensus about a specific topic, then basically in general we say, sorry, let's discuss that again. So, when we discuss about something, and this is not like we are discussing it as a team, not because I was the PTL. Like I was a PTL for like 7 years. I think I can count maybe on by my on on my mention.
Fingers.
Yeah. The how many times that I said, "Oh, I'm PTL. I want that." So yeah. So I think we are a community. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's a problem.
And yeah, because the decision like is made always with the team and communities. It's all like some kind of admin work or paperwork, like adding core reviewer in Garrett or something. That can be done by anyone, right? So it doesn't need to be PTL has to have the rights on those, because for many projects we even ask OpenStack admins to do all this stuff when it is being agreed by project or TC. And other good example, like I remember with the recent thing about one of the no API change I proposed, but I was a little late. So it was discussed in no meeting and it got agreed like we should not merge it so late. So it's not about like, a single core decision or a PTL decision. It's a team decision and we agreed on that. So that's how the practice is being followed.
So the only thing I'm concerned about is just exactly what you said. That if the team is split, right, the PTL is typically the one that takes a call. And like for example, things like feature freeze exceptions, etc. There are things that the PTL does, and we've actually enshrined it in the docs so far. I know that some teams
Wow.
try to do it differently, but that's what we've documented. That the PTL is responsible for these sort of for resolving conflicts, even between disagreements between core reviewers and so on.
Yeah, so that's why, specifically for Nova, I cannot speak for other projects, but specifically for Nova, every time that we don't have any consensus, then we prefer to pun that because I think this is important to not split our team. I know that because probably folks, on Nova cores, that we have different people in our team with different opinions, but we continue to work as a team because that we are a team. The main concern is whether René. I'm sad to be only discussing about René because he's only PTL, but that's because I was
No, he's
working
an
on
example. Yeah.
Nova. Yeah, it's just an example. As a reminder, this is just an example for the other projects. But for René, again, if he has opinions, that would be like any other contributor having opinions. If he really wants to opinionate, for example, about what you say, the exceptions, feature freeze exceptions, then I'm pretty sure, but I guess he will be doing that he will be asking the team, like in our meeting, whether we could be having exceptions. I'm, 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 I will be honest. The only time that I created exceptions for feature freeze was during this cycle. Sorry, I said that. From the last 7 cycles, we never got any exceptions because we didn't have any consensus. This time we had a good reason to accept 3 different things as exceptions, mostly because as a PTL I was doing a terrible thing. I had really no time to review a lot of stuff, so I prefer to give them a few more times to review that. But that was the only time when I said, okay, we can have some exceptions. For sure, if René wants to have exceptions during the next PTG, I will recommend him, but because I discussed with René, I will recommend it to ask at the PTG whether we could be having some way to have exceptions. If basically the community agrees with creating exceptions, because basically Sylvain created 3 of them, like on the previous cycle, then as a team, again, we'll be discussing that.
Yeah, and if we see like, the from perspective of trust and all, like it's the team who's, agreed to be any person to be PTL. It's not like an TC or any other person has forced a PTL on that team, right? And it's all trust, like they see them as a leader. If there will be conflict, obviously they can resolve. If there is a feature freeze exception or any other technical, non-technical decision has to be made, that can be discussed and that can be resolved, right? So that's what like team has elected, even though there is no election, but they are agreed to be that person as a PTL, and that's
Yeah,
where the
exactly.
trust comes.
Exactly the same as there were no elections, so we don't have strong evidence if team agreed and was in consensus with this person taking the position. We really
Well,
don't
I
know.
see
And
there is a
Nova is also not the only team who has such situation, right? This cycle. So that's basically
Yeah, but I
what
see
was
like
my
if there
main
is no
concern.
objection on nomination of that PTL, I see like that as an agreement from the team. Otherwise, they can stand their PTL and can have vote, right?
Yeah,
So
true.
yeah, so it's like I feel like it's all trust the team has shown to any member, even though they have +2 here and there or not anywhere in that project. That's a small thing. You're mute.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and to be honest, I'm definitely happy that René proposed to be the next PTL, because not because I'm against the DPL, but I mean, even if not like a Nova Core yet, the fact that he wants to help us is important, and we shouldn't be saying no just because he wants. If someone else wanted to run on the election, because we had an election, nobody else proposed himself, then okay. And like in 6 months, like any other election, if someone negates about what René did and thinks, and for good reasons, good or bad reasons, I mean, I don't care. That's each of us a responsibility. But I mean, someone can propose him or himself to any election, even the Nova election. So instead of basically knocking this idea, I would rather prefer to find a solution in order for that idea to be possible to run correctly because of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do want to round up on this topic. I think because we have a lot of first-time PTLs, I feel like we should also, like, I don't know, send. I used to get these emails to project team leads from the release team, reminding me of specific activities at specific times. That seems like something that we ought to also do at the beginning of the cycle, and remind them, for instance, about refreshing all those liaisons and things that teams miss out. Um, and also of some of these obscure duties that we only do once, or maybe at such specific times that we forget them, because they don't happen often. So yeah, I can take an AI to send this guide over if they have not already read it, or just remind them to read it again. We also have the same PTL duties doc in every team, because many of these tasks that the teams do are not shared across the community. So something to point them out. Is anybody else got any other pointers in that regard? For one, we'll also be talking to the PTLs and other core reviewers at the PTG. This includes liaisons as well, but specifically PTLs because we'd like to remind them of some things that we're doing in in the cycle and so on. But in the interim, to send out that communication, is there anything else folks want to add or would be good? Yeah. All right. I'll follow up probably with the next week's meeting. We see a draft of that and we'll send it out to the PTLs. All right. Anything else about this AI? If not, we can move on. The next AI that we had is also related to the elections. It is about leaderless projects, but we have a separate topic for that. So let's catch up. Let's switch the topic. Catch up there. I'm going to bring that up first, just because we're in the groove of the elections. So don't mind me moving some things around. But before I do that, any other AIs that folks were working on? All right. I take silence as no. I've been reminded in private conversations that that we have to probably maintain meeting decorum here in terms of like if you guys want to talk, if you folks want to talk, please raise your hands in case, especially if you're interrupting somebody or you want to interrupt somebody. I've been lax about it because you all are very nice to each other and you're not interrupting people. But this is something, for instance, at the PTG that we will enforce. Um, because a lot of people would want to talk and we don't want to run into each other. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Kansham gathered a list of projects here and the current state of things. I'll just add a link to the Etherpad on the meeting notes. So we have a few projects to take care of as far as their leadership positions to go. One is ironic. We've already settled that. That patch has merged. And the next one is Barbican. And in Barbican, we had a late nomination, and which is now showed up on the governance repo as an appointment proposed by Mauricio. And you can see there were some plus ones on his election patch, so which probably indicates that the team was also supportive. The past PTL as well. And so what we need over here is the TC to take a look at this proposal and plus one it. Or if you have any objections, share them. After the last discussion, I think the one thing I would want to check is this person on the core team or about to be the core team, or how that's going to work in terms of the team dynamics if they're not. So it's worth checking. And the next team out there is Masakari, and we have a patch here for that. And I think this candidate checks out. They have been a past PTL, but then again, please go ahead and add your plus ones. Or minus ones. And the next one is Zapkar. And I think we had one a few hours ago from them, from the PTL candidate. Their nomination was late. So this is an appointment patch. And the last one we had was OpenStack Charms. Or rather, this was not the last one. The next one we had is Charms. This one for me is a little concerning because we've had to appoint a PTL every single cycle for the last, I don't know, 5 cycles or so. Maybe not in Xena or Yoga, but every cycle after that.
Do you know if do you know the reasons why we need to appoint it like every cycle?
We should ask.
Because yeah, I mean I'm cool with approving it as it is, just because again we shouldn't be knack someone who wants to run for a PTL, but the main concern is about is it is it because he forgets every cycle about the timelines?
Yeah, but that would be the thing. I think we've asked in the past, and in the past we also had to change the PTL appointee because I think the roles of the person changed or something. Um, but yeah, I don't think we got a satisfactory answer. I suppose it was just, oh, I didn't notice in time, and so on. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying here is that I don't want to finger point. There could be good reasons why, but if we have some, again, that's still the same problem with communication. Um, I mean, if um, if the communications that we send are not useful for that person, then we should ask him which other communication he would prefer. I'm not granting that we should say yes, but here I'm basically wondering. He has some responsibilities as a PTL. We always say for communication that we use that communicate over emails. Yeah, that's certainly something that you can I mean, I say you. Gutam, do you want me to ask?
Yeah, feel free, go for it. I think the problem seems to be, I mean, with some of these teams, that seems like a constant problem, right? Like for example, Charms. I for one don't understand the release model for Charms. Maybe I was told, there are two tools, and one of them is going through this long deprecation process, which means that there are still users using it, and they're still making small set of changes, so it doesn't really have a high velocity as far as teams are concerned. That would be the Charms project itself, and there are like a lot of repositories for that project team, um, and I see a lot of activity, but yes, every time the PTL nominations take time, and or never happen, and then we end up having to appoint people on it.
Sorry, can someone remind me what's the release model for Charms?
It is cycle trailing, except they don't have, I think, when I look at branches, they don't have the same set of branches. They don't have a stable 2024.2 or anything of that sort. They have their own set of branches that they're creating. So that's a good point. We should probably go check the release repo.
Yeah,
Independent, perhaps.
I'm saying that because, for example, I would say that depending on the model they have, maybe their deadlines are different the ones that we usually have for the project services. Like for example, I would say if they are independent, um, that that could make sense. That he'll basically lose track of the cadence, and that probably that's then. I mean, I would be more afraid if the release model for Champs was cycled with RC
Oh, yeah, it's not.
for good reason. Okay, so maybe it's just independent. Let me see. Because if it's cycled with RC, then yeah, surely we have a surely I would be more afraid. But if it's just like independent, then yeah, probably they just lose track.
So I guess they're just replacing charms with Sunbeam, and that's why they're not releasing new charms, but they maintain older versions. So pretty much in the place where we were with Triple O a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
with the same issue, with the same
Yeah, that's the same situation. So their release management is tagged as external, which means it's not managed by the OpenStack releases team, which is why you see a lot of different named releases. Um, so yeah, but that's the reason. They have told us that they're in the process of transitioning from one install tool to another install tool for what's supported. But yeah, that might be the reason there, that it's not you know consistent with the way OpenStack teams work, and hence that's why they're missing all the deadlines.
Yeah, I mean, then I would just leave a comment to say, yeah, that's. I mean, again, I don't want to finger point. I just wanted to understand exactly the current situation that they were having. But I guess, okay, let me say something related to that. But I mean, before saying anything, I would like to. Uh,
Amy says something about the election processes, but we can bring that up. Sylvain, complete that thought.
I mean, don't wait for me. I'm just looking at the project teams.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I will write some note related to that. No worries.
Okay, makes sense. All right. Amy says that if we need a longer nomination team, no, nomination period, is that something that's preferable? And if we didn't email as frequently as required.
I mean, 2 weeks is more than enough. If we keep it open for a month or so, you know, many other people might forget to put. So
I
if like,
agree. And this time
right,
it was not just the 2 weeks. I mean, I think we were arguing
then
about it, but I kept reminding people on the summary email saying
exactly,
early nominations are open, just go ahead and submit it. And there is maybe at least one batch that showed up before the nomination period. Um,
yeah. Because if you make it like 3 week, 4 week, there will be always missed nomination. And what pattern here which you guys discussed is like the project frequently missing the nominations. Talk to them and see what's the reason, because that's the pattern we are having. Not like every cycle different project is coming up with the late nomination. It's almost same set of project who needs more, the uh, things on the nomination deadlines and
yeah.
all.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the side before this election to add one more to be opinionated to say maybe one more week could help. But I actually forgot about something. This is possible to nominate yourself before the elections, before the nomination period starts.
Yeah.
So I think actually never. We probably documented that, but like I think I ran for like actually I said that already. I think I ran for 7 elections as a PTL, but like every August I was on PTO when the nominations period was happening. So every time I started myself to not forget to propose myself for the election, but also because I was working on cycle with RC release model, I was exactly knowing exactly when. So that wasn't a problem for me. I was preparing to nominate myself, but I never heard, but probably it was documented somewhere, but I mean, I never heard that was only last election that I knew that I was actually able to propose myself before the nomination period was running. I mean, before I was on PTO, like creating the Git patch, that was possible to do it, and particularly because once you have that in Git, creating a new revision is simple. Once it's on the web UI, that's fine. The only problem that I was having is basically I can just modify Git. As I cannot just create a new change only with this. I basically need some other way. So basically, yeah, that's probably some possibility that we could say, like for the next election, to say, oh, as a reminder, if if you want, you can already provide your name.
Yeah. All right. Makes sense. Any other thoughts? I think we have accounted for all of the teams, and there are governance patches now. So please go ahead and add your comments, your approvals or rejections directly on the patches. I am hoping to land all of these patches soon, so that we can, clear out anything that's going on with the teams. For one, I mean, it's very confusing to do releases around this time without these patches merged. There are release liaisons on the releases repo just for this, but if those folks don't act, the release team actually falls back on the TC to take a look, and I don't want them to be in a confused state. So please go ahead and if you have some comments to add, etc. This is the week. Let's try and get these things closed out. And I just added this stuff about early nominations guidance that seemed like the consensus that was building with what you folks were talking. But if anybody wants to take a lead on that, let me know. I can just tag you with that action item. There's no rush, but it's early nominations, so I would do it as soon as possible. So we can sort of tell people what this looks like the next time around. All right. Anything else on this topic of leaderless projects? If not, let's move on. We're just left with 9 minutes on this call, but we do have another couple of topics that we could get on with. So this is the TC chair election. So we have a process to to elect a TC chair with every new TC term that happens. Um, and we nominate ourselves on the governance repo pretty much like anything else. This is the nomination kickoff sort of a thing. It's less formal than it sounds, right? Because again, we're talking all the time. We should be chatting on the OpenStack TC channel and so on. But there is language there that was added in the previous TC terms that says that once we close out the elections, we should try to get on with nominating a chair so we can keep our business going. Right. And it's very essential because I mean as we publish these governance changes and things, these start stagnating if we are not taking a look at those changes in a timely manner. And so that's what makes the TC chair important. So you can add folks to review and remind them and move things forward. Again, a TC chair, just like you all have agreed, is just probably a leader of the team in terms of managing things, but it's not really like the most technical person on the TC or something like that. This role is actually pretty much spelled out as well. There is a doc we wrote to ourselves. Responsibilities, I think, which is here. And the best part about this being a TC chair for the past two cycles for me was I could make up many of those things and fill in the gaps and discuss with folks and try to formalize things that were not already written on this doc. So it gives you a lot of opportunity to improve things and change things around, especially with a group that's supportive. So if you're interested, this nomination period is still valid right now, which means I mean I created that directory yesterday, we're giving ourselves like a few days. Please go ahead and submit your self-nomination, and we can chat on the OpenStack TC channel, and go ahead and if we have more than one nomination, we can have the election in one of our meetings. Right? Does that work, Gansham? Is that how it's supposed to happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one more thing, and like I see you already put the nomination, so thanks for continuing that. And as per process, like as you chair, you can merge that nomination anytime. You don't need to keep that open because that is as a nomination, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, we can wait for like I think till tomorrow, maybe one more day if there is anyone interested. Otherwise, the things you already explained, I think that's overall we follow. And feel free to clarify the terms in that chair election process, because mostly I documented, and you never see all the scenarios when you
Yeah.
write the things. So feel free to correct, update like the exact things, so that will be helpful for future and avoid any confusion. Yeah, thanks.
All right. So we'll catch up on this on the OpenStack TC channel because again, the deadline is going to be up between our meetings. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me or just ping on the channel. And let's follow up over there. We have one other topic, and this one's something that we revisit every cycle again. One is if we should do these meetings. Um, And as you heard a couple of opinions on the, sorry, you read a few opinions on the OpenStack TC channel yesterday, if you followed the discussion there. So one obvious thing was that, communicating synchronously like this over this audio-visual format is not convenient to everybody. And for instance, I mean, Jens does not feel comfortable coming to these meetings. So he makes sure, like, he lets us know every week that he's not going to be there in these monthly meetings, which is not a good thing for me. Honestly, like I hate that this feels exclusionary. But at the same time, I am sympathetic to the fact that we get a lot of engagement uh, through this medium. Uh, and we also publish this meeting on the OpenStack YouTube channel, the TC's YouTube channel, which then looking at the views, it's not negligent. I feel like people are paying attention to this just as much as we don't know how many people are catching up with the meeting logs that are there on Eavesdrop, but we at least can see how many people are viewing um, these meetings on YouTube, for instance.
Yeah,
So
that's fun that you got numbers at least for YouTube because, like with Eavesdrop, every time that I'm doing another meeting, I wonder how many people are reading the minutes. So yeah, I even with emails, how much I don't know how many operators actually look at the mailing list. So yeah, if I mean my only concern is just because of the time zone. But apart from that, I'm cool with like having a monthly meeting if that helps a few people to at least know our faces. Not because I mean my face is nah, I was joking about that. No, just because I think that probably makes that more visible than maybe the weekly meetings. I don't know. That's probably a question we should be asking operators at some forum session. Like, how do you interact with the community during the meetings? I know that Fungi and the foundations have a lot of discussions with operators about how we could help them. But one of the open questions that I have is that I don't know how much they know that at least they can communicate with us during the meetings. That comes at least for Nova, but even for TC. There are multiple reasons why people could be interested in joining a meeting. And that's probably the simplest way to communicate. So, voilà. But
yeah,
yeah, you said that I'm afraid of the time zones, but no, that's like a regular Thursday 7 p.m. for me. So, not Thursday, that's like a Tuesday 7 p.m. usual meeting for me. So,
yeah. Doug?
Yeah, so I mean, I still think kind of like what you said there. I think a, a secondary medium is good. I mean, we don't if people are wanting to scale back how often and whatnot, but I think just as much, at least for younger generation of developers, IRC is proving to be harder. So for example, OpenStack Helm, it is dead on IRC. I mean, the PTL is there, I'm in there, but there's a handful of people there, but the where the conversation is happening is on Kubernetes hosted Slack,
Yeah.
right? And that's where if you have an issue, if you post it in IRC, it's going to be like me and two other people that are going to answer you. If you post it in Slack, you're going to get a lot more, right? And that's
Yeah.
just because there's a generation of Kubernetes people that started with Kubernetes that are more used to tools like Slack and whatnot. So I think an alternate uh, medium isn't a terrible idea. Not saying it has to be Zoom, but something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to derail on that thing, but I'm definitely more than happy to continue using IRC for the meetings and even for discussing with the community because okay, yeah, because because on my company we moved to Slack after IRC, and I definitely miss IRC. But I mean I as you said Doug, it's not. I yeah. I don't want to divert on that, but as you said, yeah, that's a new generation of technologists. I like the name of generation. Yeah, probably.
But probably we can do better job in promoting our metrics bridge, which should appeal to this newer generation more than RC. So and then we have like both sides satisfied, kind of.
Actually, that's a very good point. Maybe people don't know that they can use matrix and that we have it in open infra. Yeah,
Yeah. I
actually,
was gonna
because
But we have a very bad job in documenting that across projects, actually. So.
and we are currently out of time. It's 3 minutes over, so I think we should wrap it up here. I like the suggestion that this is a topic for the PTG. Let me just reprise this at the PTG, and with the rest of the community. So thank you all for joining here today. If you had any more thoughts before I close out the meeting on IRC, please feel free to type it out. Um, Otherwise, see you on IRC next week. Thanks.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Gautam. Bye.